Sean is joining us here in the newsroom this morning. Sean, thanks so much for coming in.
It's good to be here with you.
We want to start with what Cuomo is doing, the subpoena. He has subpoenaed 8 Wall Street banks with this idea that they may have manipulated their relationships with the ratings agencies. This is about mortgage-backed securities. In theory, if you have the New York AG job, you will be picking up where Cuomo left off. What do you think of these subpoenas? Is this the right thing to do?
Well, something clearly went very wrong in the last few years in connection with mortgage-backed securities and the role of the credit rating agencies, the gatekeepers, if you will, the people who assured investors that these are top-flight, safe investments. So we do need to get to the bottom of that. I'm not going to comment specifically on what the Attorney General's office is doing in this particular case now, because I hope to one day be in charge of that office, so it wouldn't be appropriate. But I do think it's time to find out what really happened. And as I understand it, the focus is on what the banks may have told the credit rating agencies in hopes of getting these high ratings. I do think there's ample evidence that the credit rating agencies have some problems of their own. Some of the emails that have come out over the years, which indicate that they themselves recognize that they weren't able to do the proper due diligence in order to give a meaningful and honest and accurate rating.
Because to the average person, Sean, and we actually talked about this with Bill Ackman yesterday of Pershing Square Capital Management, who made a lot of money from a short bet on MBIA, and part of it was this farcical relationship, as he describes it, those are his words, between MBIA and the ratings agencies. To the average person, though, Sean, it looks like the ratings agencies, even post-crisis, are functioning business as normal. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think that there has to be fundamental change with regard to the rating agencies. And again, this is the latest example of gatekeepers failing to do their job. We had the auditors early in the century who were in a similar situation. They were paid by the people they were hired to evaluate. I do think
you successfully prosecuted Arthur Andersen.
Well, I did in a couple of cases, and I do think that Sarbanes-Oxley has gone a long way towards fixing that inherent conflict. And I think now, again, we need fundamental change in how rating agencies function. There's a lot of activity in Congress right now to try and deal with that. But I think an important part here is find out what happened and who knew and what did they know. Because my view is we need to start holding people accountable. Because when you do that, not just companies, but people, then you're going to have a much better deterrence going forward.
You've said you're going to be tougher on these gatekeepers. You just gave us the list: auditors, bankers, directors, lawyers, accounting firms. Right. You've also said you feel like broker-dealers need more oversight.
Well, I do. I think one of the things we've learned over the last few years is that Wall Street, a lot of good people there working hard to make money, and that's fine. But there are some folks who cross the line, and we need to have better oversight. We have to understand, as New Yorkers, that Wall Street is one of our most important industries, but the way to keep it growing and paying taxes and helping the state is to keep it honest. And so as Attorney General, that will be my focus. And I think it's important to have an Attorney General who understands Wall Street. It's a tough beat, and you need a cop who knows the beat.
Now, I know you've helped investors recuperate. I mean, with the fraud against WorldCom was more than $6 billion. Do you see the environment now better or worse than in the WorldCom days?
For investors, I think investors are a little more gun-shy now, which is not good for the capital markets. I mean, folks have money. They want to invest it, but they want to make sure that the market isn't rigged. There's serious doubt out there right now, and it's legitimate. So I do think that we need to have fundamental financial reform, and I do think we need to have people in place as regulators who understand the street and who can differentiate between legitimate money-making conduct and illegitimate conduct, not sweep away the good apples with the bad. And so I think if we have that regulatory reform, if we have good cops on the beat, investors will be more trusting of the market, which is what we need in order to grow the economy.
And as you've said, Sean, you're probably the only candidate running who doesn't need to beat up Wall Street to prove that you can, because you've been there and done that. Sean Coffey, we thank you very much for the time.